In this video, I am going to give you an entire end-to-end tutorial on how to run your first cold email campaign, some core principles as to what you should do in every campaign that you run, and generally just how you can set up a spectacular, delightful cold email campaign that actually gets you positive responses for your business. Let's start with the basics. What is a cold email campaign and how can it help your business? It's essentially a way of finding prospects, reaching out to them, and ideally converting them on the product or service that you're selling. Cold email can be an incredibly effective method of outreach, but with the advancement of AI and people getting kind of sick of spam emails, it's very, very important to do it the right way. So there are four main tenets of any good cold email. Starting with the intro line, an intro line is incredibly important to capture the attention of the prospect to even open up the email that you're sending. If it seems like a generic first sentence of the email, they might not even click on it, open it, read it, process it, or reach you back with a positive response. The second thing, of course, is the value prop of your business, which has to be enticing. If you're not solving a problem that the client or prospect is currently facing, you are probably not going to get a positive response. So good targeting is, of course, a great segue into a good value prop. If your value prop fits the target audience perfectly, you have a much higher likelihood of getting a positive response. The third part is a case study. If you have a case study, it's very important to include them in your cold emails as it shows validity and it proves that you've actually done the thing that you claim to do. The fourth thing, and arguably the most important part, is the offer. If your offer isn't good enough, people simply won't respond no matter what you are saying in the email. You might be asking, what is a good offer? The first thing is some sort of resource that gives value to the prospect that you're reaching out to. If you have a 10-page document on how to improve a company's SEO and you're an SEO agency, a company will probably be interested in that document if you give it to them for free in exchange for a call. Another part of cold email campaigns that are really important are the follow-ups. When you're sending out a cold email, for the most part, you're going to want to send out more than one email. And you're going to want to have follow-ups that support the first email that you sent while also providing extra value and ideally making the offer just that much better. Personalizations are an incredibly valuable thing to add to your cold emails if you do it correctly. What is a personalization? Basically, it's a thing that you add into an email that is specific to the prospect or company that you're reaching out to. For example, let's say your prospect was just hired for a specific role. Congratulating them on that role would be a personalization because, of course, it is specific to them. It's ideal to use a personalization that shows that you know what problem the client is currently facing and that you can address it. Targeting is so unbelievably important when you're running a cold email campaign. A lot of people just go, I want to send emails to as many people as is humanly possible because in theory, the more people, the more positive responses you get and the more meetings you book. But it is so much better to have a smaller but more refined target audience to write cold emails to because then you're able to refine the prompt of the cold email to be far more tailored to the group that you're reaching out to. Some key attributes that most people target by are geography, how many employees actually work for the company, revenue, whether they've raised a round recently, whether they've raised any money at all, what industry they're in. I would figure out to the best of your ability who would be interested in your product or service before running any cold email campaigns because it's pretty difficult to get a good read on who your ideal prospect would be without giving it some thought prior to running a cold email campaign. I just wanted to walk you through what good copywriting looks like and how to actually convert a prospect. So let's go into email one really quickly. The subject is outbound edge. With subject lines, I'd highly recommend just being as basic as possible. So for email one, I saw on company names LinkedIn that you're hiring. Figured that since you're investing in company names growth, you've thought about automating your outbound sales process. We also call this a trigger. So if they're hiring, they're probably trying to solve a certain problem, which means that you could solve that problem. For example, if they're hiring for a salesperson and this is a sales agency, then they're probably going to be able to address the problem that the company is facing to a certain extent by providing their services. My company can automate your process to send thousands of hyper-personalized emails faster than an SDR can send 5. This company is likely hiring an SDR. If they're hiring for an SDR, they're more than likely just trying to find the value that is behind the SDR's position. If there's another way to get clients that doesn't require hiring an SDR, the company might be interested in considering it because at the end of the day, they just want the same result. So if I can tell them I can operate at least 5 times the efficiency as an SDR, then maybe it'll entice the client to actually close. And then lastly, I just said, would you be interested in hearing a few ideas I have for the company's outbound workflow? So for email 2, I am approaching this same problem from a different angle. So I said, first name, amassing this many LinkedIn followers and this many site visitors isn't easy. You've clearly tried some solid growth strategies. Have you got this process as automated or is it just your team still slogging through manual research? So I'm saying now you're doing a great job, but are you wasting time? Are you wasting resources that you could be otherwise allocating to something else? If so, would it be worth a few minutes to see how we can automate your outbound process to spur even more growth? So this is essentially offering a free call that shows them how we can automate their outbound process, ideally closing them as a client once they see the insane capabilities of our service. For email 3, we decided to change it up a bit. So the subject is Personalization Expo. I said first name, no human actually wrote this email, but I know that the company is the best in the business at this is whatever they do. Is lucky that you've been there for however long as they've been at the company and uses these technologies. Besides little personalizations like these, we monitor our data sources for recent news, open job positions, competitor updates, and a ton more. On a call, we can build a fully automated outbound workflow for you interested. And this is just making the offer a little bit sweeter. You notice the initial offer was like, yeah, it's fine. We're giving them a few ideas on how we could automate their outbound processes. In this one, we're saying for free, we will build out a fully automated workflow for you. Before you even have to pay anything, we will build this out for you right now just to show you that we can save you hundreds of hours and hundreds of thousands of dollars on your outbound workflow processes. The last one is there someone else at the company who'd be better to talk to about the kiln? Now I wanted to show you what the back end of this actually looks like. You might be thinking to yourself, how on earth did I actually build out these personalizations? You can do it one at a time, but that's going to take forever. But how do I do it at scale? And that is where Clay comes in. You can see here that it works essentially as an active spreadsheet. So maybe ask yourself, how did I get all these people to be imported into a table? All you have to do is click new table, find people from LinkedIn, and you can go ahead and throw in whatever job titles you want and a ton of different other data points. For example, we will say that they need to have the word tech in their bio and they need to be based in New York City. And if you preview the people, you can see we have 133 people that fit those exact requirements, and we can just go ahead and import them into a table. So that's what I did in this case. The first thing that I did was normalizing the company name. So when you're sending an email, you want to make sure that their company name and their job position or anything in the email sounds like it's being sent by a real person. I want these company names to sound normal. I don't want something like Guidebook Inc. to be Guidebook Inc. in an email. It's going to be obvious that an AI wrote this. I wanted to just say Guidebook. The second thing is I had to find their company's site traffic. So I'm using an integration called the Find Site Traffic. You can see here I use actually a waterfall, which pretty much is using several different of these integrations to find one data point. The way in which you do that is you just click Enrich Data and you type in site traffic, and you can see here that it uses several different data providers to find one data point. All it requires is some input data, in this case a company domain, and it can run these integrations and find things like their exact site traffic every single time. From there, I wanted to make sure that the site traffic sounded less robotic. I actually used a formula to go ahead and say if the site traffic is more than 1 million, then we just round it up and add an M. Same thing with the thousands, we add a K, and then if the site traffic is less, we just keep it the same. So you can see here that it has now been corrected via this formula automatically to a number that looks less robotic. And from there, we had to find the prospect's actual work email. So this is obviously super important. We can't reach out to people if we don't have their work emails, and Clay has a really cool integration that allows you to do this. All you do is click Enrich Data, click on work email, and you'll see here that there's a waterfall that uses 6 different data providers to find the prospect's email. All it requires is their full name, which of course we have, and the company's domain, which we also have, and voila. Then I use the OpenAI integrations, and this is a very distinguishable attribute of Clay, is it allows you to use AI like ChatGPT, but at scale. First, of course, you obviously pull up the OpenAI integration, and in there, you can actually insert columns. For example, I can feed their tech stack into OpenAI, and it will run this integration differently for each one of the companies. In this case, I just prompted it to say, given a company's tech stack, select 2 technologies that an employee with the given title most likely uses. Select ones that they actually use or interact with, not just supporting technologies, and then output them separated by a comma. And you can see here that it output our technologies perfectly, and we use 2 formulas to separate it. So a couple key things that you need to know when you're setting up a campaign. The first thing is that you don't ever use one email. You're going to want to set up one email inbox for every 30 emails that you want to send a day. And you're going to want to set up one domain for every 3 email inboxes that you create. This is going to allow you to set up an infrastructure that allows you to send out cold emails at scale without ever getting blacklisted by Google if done correctly. Once you've actually gotten all of the technology set up, you're going to want to connect those email accounts to a system called SmartLead. All you do is just connect those accounts right here. And then for all of the personalization variables, the things in the brackets, we're actually going to use a SmartLead integration within Clay to add all these leads to our campaign. You just select the campaign that you're looking to put in, and all the different variables that you have in Clay can be mapped out here. First name, put a little slash right here, and we do this with all of the leads, and we just add them to that campaign automatically after setting it up in SmartLead. If you have any questions about this, feel free to DM me on LinkedIn or just reach out to the Clay support team on Slack. I would highly recommend downloading Clay. There's a link to it in my bio, and happy prospecting.